Composed in the year 1749 to mark the end of the War of the Austrian Succession, George Frederick Handel's overture to the Royal Fireworks was conceived for a magnificent outdoor performance in London's Green Park, commissioned in celebration of a splendid fireworks display held in honor of His Majesty King George II. This remarkable work captures the grandeur and jubilation of the occasion with its resounding brass fanfares, stately rhythms, and triumphant melodies. Originally scored for a substantial ensemble of wind instruments, strings, and percussion, it remains a powerful and enduring testament to the spirit of national celebration. Indeed, its rousing themes have become a staple of the orchestral repertoire, echoing through the ages at many royal occasions, including the solemn and joyous pageantry of British coronations.
Blue Skies was composed in 1926 by Irving Berlin and was originally used as a last-minute addition to the Rodgers and Hart musical Betsy. The song was an instant success, with audiences and several versions have been recorded by jazz and pop artists. Additionally, Blue Skies has been featured in many films, from 1954's White Christmas to many more recently in Star Trek.
5 is a jazz standard composed by Paul Desmond in 5 beat per measure, and the melody relying on the blues scale. It was first recorded in 1959 and is the third track on Time Out by the Dave Brubeck Quartet. Frequently covered by a variety of artists, the track is the biggest-selling jazz song of all time and a Grammy Hall of Fame inductee, and is often regarded as the greatest jazz standard of all time.
This brilliant arrangement is a medley of 3 timeless songs: Summertime, As Time Goes By, and Time After Time. Summertime is an aria composed in 1934 by George Gershwin for the opera Porgy and Bess. It became a popular and much recorded jazz standard, described as, without doubt, one of the finest songs the composer ever wrote. As Time Goes By is a jazz song written by Herman Hupfeld in 1931, and it became famous when it was featured in the 1942 Warner Bros. Film Casablanca. Time After Time, a more contemporary song, was written in 1983 and made famous by American singer-songwriter Cyndi Lauper.
Van Halen Hits showcases Panama and Jump, two legendary songs performed by the classic rock group Van Halen. Jump was the group's biggest hit ever and their first #1 hit in America. Panama, the third single released from their 1984 album, peaked at 13 on the charts. The band has had 13 #1 hits on the Billboard Mainstream Rock chart. Eddie Van Halen, the guitarist and songwriter who gave the rock band its name and signature sound, died on October 6, 2020, after a battle with cancer.
Camila Cabello, a Cuban-American singer and songwriter, is one of 10 collaborators who penned the Latin song Havana. Camila's album and video performance have helped her achieve worldwide recognition and several music awards, including including a Grammy Award and a #1 position on the official Billboard Hot 100.
English Folk Song Suite by Ralph Vaughan Williams. Ralph Vaughan Williams, one of the most eminent contemporary English composers, is known throughout the world for his splendid choral, wind band, and orchestral works. He found inspiration in the study of folk music and expressed them in his own masterful way in this suite. This composition, originally scored for wind band and titled Folk Song Suite, has become a staple of the wind band literature since its creation in 1923. This piece was then arranged for full orchestra in 1924 by Vaughan Williams' student Gordon Jacob and published as English Folk Song Suite. Tonight we will be performing Movement 1, subtitled March, which is based on the folk song 17 Come Sunday, and Movement 3, also subtitled March, based on folk song from Somerset.
Thank you. This is a very special night for a lot of us, especially for our seniors. This is going to be their final performance, so we would like them to, first of all, know how appreciated they were and have been these past 4 years. Very special class, I have to tell you. And so we'd like them, the orchestra parents presented them with a corsage rose this afternoon, and we'd like to also, can we have all of our seniors, even our symphonic seniors, the advanced seniors, please stand and be recognized. Just an outstanding class, and guys, we wish you well in all of your next steps.
Dance of the Clowns is an arrangement of music from William Shakespeare's play, A Midsummer's Night's Dream, that is true to the original. At 2 separate times, Felix Mendelssohn composed music for A Midsummer's Night's Dream. In 1826, near the start of his career, Mendelssohn wrote a concert overture, and in 1842, only a few years before his death, he wrote incidental music for a production of the play, into which he incorporated his existing overture.
The symphonic dances from Fiddler on the Roof are a captivating suite of dance pieces from the beloved Broadway musical, arranged by Ira Hirschen. The suite features iconic dances like Tradition, the Bottle Dance, Perchik and Huddle Dance, and Hava Sequence, capturing the spirit and emotion of the musical stage show.
Jay Bocook's arrangement of West Side Story brings Leonard Bernstein's legendary musical to life in a vibrant version for concert band. Originally premiering on Broadway in 1957, West Side Story is a reimagining of Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, set against the backdrop of 1950s New York City, where two rival street gangs, the Jets and the Sharks, contend with love, conflict, and tragedy. Bocook's arrangement highlights the unforgettable melodies and rhythmic energy of Bernstein's score, including iconic songs like Maria, America, and Tonight. With its jazz-infused harmonies and dynamic percussion grooves, this arrangement captures the passion, drama, and vitality of the original work.
Hi, everyone. I want to take a minute to recognize Marianne Kenny for all that she has done for the orchestra parent group during her time here. For the past 3 years as president of the OPG, she has put in so much time and dedication and volunteer hours. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for all you have done for the organization and for the kids. We're going to miss you, but we wish you lots of luck in your next chapter.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And Mr. Kenny, we have something for you as well. On behalf of the students and the families, we want to thank you for everything that you've done for the students and for the music program at Hunterdon Central. Congratulations on a successful career, and we wish you a lot of luck in your retirement. Thank you for everything. This is a small token of our appreciation.
No, not yet. Thank you. Thank you much. Thank you so much. That's so appreciated. You're going to hear a lot from me a little later, so we're going to move on at this point. Thank you so much.
Composed by John Williams in 1976 for the film Midway, this stirring march is a tribute to the bravery and sacrifice of those who fought in the Battle of Midway. Williams' composition captures the intensity and heroism of the naval battle, which is said to have been a turning point of the World War II in the Pacific. The Midway March is both patriotic and dramatic, reflecting the courage of the soldiers while evoking a sense of triumph and honor. This is the original version of the march as recorded by the Boston Pops.
All right. So, as the song from the musical Rent goes, 525,600 minutes, how do you measure a year? No, I'm not singing that, kid, sorry. Well, to build upon that, in 18,921,600 minutes, how do you measure a 36-year career? Well, I'll do my best. I've had the distinct pleasure of working with Mr. Kenny for the past 11 years in various capacities, and it's difficult to put into words just how much of an impact he's had on me, on our students, to our community, and our school's music program here at Hunterdon Central. From the very beginning of my time at one of the middle schools as a band director there in the district, one of the most rewarding aspects of that job was watching my 8th grade students graduate and move on to high school. It always brought me a strong sense of comfort and excitement knowing that they would be entering a band program that was not only comprehensive and high quality, but also was led by someone as passionate, dedicated, and as inspiring as Mr. Kenny. The incredible work Mr. Kenny has done with the students year after year is nothing short of extraordinary. He has built and sustained a band program that challenges, inspires, uplifts every student who enters it. Whether it's through one of the concert bands, the jazz bands, or during his tenure with the marching band, Mr. Kenny consistently fostered an environment where students can grow as musicians and individuals and as members of a supportive artistic community. The consistency and excellence of his work over the years are a testament to his tireless commitment and deep musical expertise and genuine love of teaching. This past year, I had the unique opportunity to work alongside him directly as I made the transition from RMS here to Hunterdon Central, finally graduating from middle school to high school. After 10 years, my mom is so proud. Being able to see firsthand the level of passion, pride, and care he brings to his teaching has been nothing short of awe-inspiring. Very few educators approach their work with the same infectious enthusiasm, attention to detail, and genuine joy that Mr. Kenny brings to the rehearsals every single day. His ability to connect with students and bring out their very best, both musically and personally, is a rare and admirable gift that I know has left a lasting impression on so many. Over the course of this year, I've also had the chance to witness firsthand how much the students respect and admire him, not only because of the high standards he sets, but because of the way he supports them in reaching their musical goals. He balances expectations with compassion, discipline with care. It's clear that the students feel seen, heard, and valued under his direction, and that trust translates into some truly remarkable musical moments. Beyond our professional collaboration, I have had come to truly treasure our friendship and camaraderie that we've developed. Our conversations ranging from geeking out over all things wind band repertoire, analyzing major performances of the New York Philharmonic, Philadelphia Orchestra, what they were playing, what's going on, to our often many and hilarious and I will say almost always failed attempts to disprove some various laws of physics, which I'm still not sure of the one with the cannon and the straight and the down gravity. That can't happen. No, yeah, that does not work. There were coffee grunt. It was a thing. So those shared moments of laughter and mutual encouragement not only strengthened our professional bond, but made working together a true privilege and a pleasure. I'm especially grateful for the trust and opportunities that Mr. Kenny has extended to me this year, particularly in allowing me to share in the direction of both the concert and jazz bands. To step into a program that he's built with such care, vision, and pride is an honor, and I do not take that lightly. I hope to continue his legacy with the same spirit of excellence, dedication, and joy that he has modeled over his tenure here. Mr. Kenny, as you step into the next chapter of your life, I hope you enjoy every moment of well-earned rest, adventure, and of course, unlimited rounds of golf. And I look forward to seeing you in future Raritan band rehearsals on Wednesday nights. Wink, wink. So thank you, Mr. Kenny, for being an inspiring mentor and colleague to me. Your unwavering support, your belief in me, and your continued willingness to share your wisdom and experience has meant more to me than I can fully express. You have impacted not only this program, but also the lives of countless students and fellow educators. Your influence will be felt here for many years to come. To quote the TV show This Is Us, "If something makes you sad when it ends, it must have been pretty wonderful when it was happening. But endings aren't always sad. It's just the start of the next incredibly beautiful thing. I wish you nothing but the best in your retirement. Congratulations."
Okay. First off, band to the ready. Stand by. Believe it or not, this is one of the many parts of the Hunterdon Central MRD, Marching Red Devils culture, brought to us by Mr. Kenny. The to the ready, the hiss, MRD pride. In fact, there was no MRD before Mr. Kenny. We were simply the Hunterdon Central Marching Band before Kenny, BK. Only after he arrived were we calling ourselves the Marching Red Devils. Bob and I actually met quite a few years prior to his first year as a teacher here. He was actually student teaching his senior year of college at Trenton State College, none of this TCNJ stuff, Trenton State College. And I was actually a sophomore here at Hunterdon Central High School. There was also no regional back then, it was just HCHS. In the string orchestra class, that's where I first met him. I had also recently started playing tuba, so Mr. Kenny was teaching the ensemble classes with Mr. Bailog as his co-op teacher, and he gave me one-on-one tuba lessons throughout the semester. We had a few student teachers come and go through the program during my years as a student, but I can honestly say that Mr. Kenny was by far the most positive influence on me. Not only as a musician and a director, but also as a person who made me think that music education could be a possible career path. 6 years later, Bob Kenny is teaching at a high school in Illinois, and I'm finishing up my senior year at Trenton State. A band director job opened here at Hunterdon Central. We both apply, and Mr. Kenny is given the job. I am secretly relieved because at that point in my life, I was in no way ready to take on an entire instrumental program by myself, whereas Mr. Kenny had already had several years of teaching experience in Illinois. He was clearly the right person for the job, but it was not always an easy path for him. The program had been suffering declining numbers due to a series of in and out, revolving door of band directors coming and going, which is never a good thing for a music program. I did come to see him in the summer that he was given the job and offered my services as a volunteer instructor before band camp prior to me starting a new job in Mountainside, New Jersey. So Bob Kenny began to rebuild the band program, and we stayed in touch. 3 years later, an additional music teaching position became available. I was hired to assist both instrumental and the choral program, and to take charge of the string program. From then, ours was a full-time partnership. For the next 29 years here at Central, Bob continued to be a mentor to me, in music education and in life. He also became a close friend. He invited my wife, Cindy, on board to eventually direct the color guard for the MRD. And he also became the fun uncle for Krina, our daughter, when we adopted her after my first year at Central. He was always immensely supportive of myself and Cindy as we worked hard to balance work and home life. Thanks to Bob's loving, supportive nature, Krina was raised by a village of MRD staff and students over that first decade. We were an amazing team with the MRD especially. Bob, myself, along with Cindy, Tim Klein, the now retired math teacher who's here tonight, former MRD assistant director Bob Furta, who still attends most of our concerts. Thank you, Bob. Together, we tackled Disney trips, the first one by bus. We were young and stupid. Europe trips. We even did band trips on cruise ships. Not sure what we were thinking on that one. After a few years of juggling instrumental and vocal, we were able to finally secure another choral teacher in the awesome Mrs. Megan Petrusian, and I went over to working with Bob full-time in the instrumental music department. Our concert ensembles continue to grow in quality and quantity. Several other teachers have joined the ranks, and the program flourished. And about a decade and a half into Bob's marching band tenure, he met the amazing Marianne. I never saw somebody fall in love so hard and so fast. They eventually married, and eventually Max Kenny was born. It was at this point that I saw a new side of Bob, that of a devout husband and father. He made the difficult decision to step down as director of the MRD in order to focus on raising his child, and the school gave the job to me. I continued to utilize Bob's counsel as I navigated this new role of marching band director for me. Up till that point, I was only an assistant, so sitting in the big chair was daunting. He continued to be my Obi-Wan Kenobi, or is it my Yoda? I don't know. I truly appreciated his guidance as I navigated the MRD through new triumphs and challenges over the past 15 years. And even though our shared marching band adventures were at an end, we still had an entire curricular program to maintain. We came up with an idea that not many schools do. It's what you see tonight, which was to combine our band and string classes to allow the students to have a full orchestra experience. Bob's generosity in sharing his students with me and with the program meant a great deal. And it allowed us to create a program where the students work under different directing styles and perform multiple styles and genres within various types of ensembles. One area I've always appreciated Bob was his willingness to learn new concepts and try and make them work within our ensemble curriculum. As teachers, we're always offered new ideas to try to implement. He never dismissed any concept or idea, but rather give it his all to try to understand it. He was also a force to be reckoned with when it came to fighting for our program, fighting for your program. Yes. The quality of what we were able to offer the students has been stellar, thanks in no small part to his efforts for nearly 3.5 decades. Over the past few years, the word transition has become something of a soundbite here in the music department, with the retirement of Mr. Stevenson 2 years ago, followed by Ms. Colton's retirement last year. Those of us still here were challenged to see a program with new roles assigned to us, and as well as new faces, like that of our newest instrumental director, John Hilkema, and our new department supervisor, Ms. Christine Moss, and our newly approved hire for next year, Ms. Mackenzie Miller, who you will all meet very soon, those that are not graduating. We've taken Bob's positive attitude in stride and have all worked hard to make these transitions happen smoothly. As much as I loved watching Bob rehearse with the students of his ensembles all of these years, I've also loved watching him take on the role of dad. He truly cares deeply for his family, and he works hard all these years to be the best father he could be. It's amazing to watch Bob and Max together now, seeing the love and trust that they share. There have been times when we, his colleagues and friends, have even had a hand in providing some memorable experiences for Max. I am thinking specifically of Max's, I believe it was his 6th birthday, where we put together the Jedi Training Academy, or I should say Bob put together that. For those who don't know, Disney Hollywood Studios used to run an activity in the event in the parks where children would learn lightsaber skills with a Jedi cast member and then take turns going up against Darth Vader. Mr. Kenny found a video recording of this experience online, transcribed the entire script, convinced a bunch of us to assist. I performed the role of a Jedi, Megan Petruccian's husband Eric, and Tim Klein assisted with wrangling all the kids, while Cindy worked the sound effects. Mr. Kenny himself took on the role of Darth Vader. He happened to know somebody who owned a movie-accurate Vader costume, along with 27 lightsabers. It was a huge success, so much so that a few years later, when Cindy Megalio's elementary school in Montgomery had a Star Wars-themed field day, she and I reworked the experience so it would work with 28 individual 1st and 2nd grade classes, and Bob Kenny, along with Tim Klein, came along and took turns playing the role of the villain once again, this time as Kylo Ren. And add to this our other shared family experiences, meeting up at Disney parks, gathering each other's homes, other birthday parties. We truly have been a family. Not like a family, we were a family. We are a family. Which brings us to now, yet another transition among us. Bob plans to walk off the field on graduation day with Max. As I think of the adventures that might await him, along with how many different golf courses he plans to play on, what else can I say to my colleague of 29 years and my friend of nearly 40 years? I guess the best I can do is offer a sincere and heartfelt thank you. Thank you for believing in me the way you did when we first had those tuba lessons in 1986, as well as when I first came on as a teacher, and you believed in me as you did all of your students, these past 36 years. Thank you for always pushing your students to do better and for inspiring me to do the same. Thank you for making each and every single day of work a fulfilling experience. Thank you for your professionalism, your talent, and above all, your friendship. Hunterdon Central is a better place for having you here, and we, the staff of Hunterdon Central, are better people having known you. In closing, both of us and our families were among the very few to experience a really cool event in Florida, the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser. It's now closed, sadly, it wasn't making enough money, but we got to do it, and it was an amazing experience. They used a phrase there called tabuite. It was a made-up Star Wars language, but it means cherish the moment. I think that this is such a great phrase to live by. I think we have all cherished our moments together, and we wish you, Marianne and Max, many wonderful moments to cherish. Another phrase down there in the Florida parks in Galaxy's Edge is good journey. So as you embark on your amazing new adventures, Bob, we all wish you good journey. Tabu Ite, band dismissed, MRD Pride. So before we give the mic to Mr. Kenny, we do have some gifts.
All right, so those of you who've been around for a while know that Mr. Kenny always used to do the piece West Highland Sojourn with the freshman ensembles every year. So after me, going through my spy skills and digging through his desk, we have the original score of his, signed by every member of the instrumental music department this year, with the phrase, "Thank you for going on this musical sojourn with us."
And to go along with that, as those who know, our daughter, Karina, is an artist, and she actually did this is her sketch that we put up for when we did West Highland Sojourn last year, which is kind of like the theme to the song. So we're going to give this to you to pass along with that. And one more. And last but not least on our end, we want to present him with this drawing that Karina did. This is Bob at Carnegie Hall with conducting Vesuvius.
I'm right with you. Thank you, Karina. I will treasure that forever. Wow. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for that. That was very special. Gentlemen, very, very special. And for everybody, thank you very much. I do want to send a special thank you for the people who have traveled. I've seen several people already before the concert. Many years, from recent graduates to, I think, 28 years ago, right, Andy Sussman? Anyone here later than 28 years? Well, I got a hand. Who's that? Christine, 32 years. Thank you for being here. That's amazing. All right, I do have a few words prepared. Now, I've read this 100 times the last 36 hours, and I haven't been able to get through it. So I will do my best. All right, as I stand here today, preparing to close this chapter of my life, it's only 12 pages, don't worry. After 36 incredible years as a high school band director, I find myself filled with gratitude and reflection. It's hard to believe that this journey, I didn't know we were talking journeys, has come to an end, but what a journey it has been. The concerts, the cabarets, the showcases, the football games, the trips to Europe, Disney, even an Outback Bowl. I think that was the one on the bus, right? Performances at Lincoln Center and Carnegie Hall, all such great experiences. First and foremost, I have to express and want to express my deepest thanks for my wife, Mary Ann. Whose love and support has been my rock throughout this entire journey. You lived all the aspects of this role with me, and even stepped in to lead the OPG the past few years in support of our kids, our students, and our families. Thank you for being the partner, my partner in every sense of that word. The first two are the toughest. To my son, Max. Thank you for your patience and for teaching me physics and for sharing your dad with so many students over the years. Watching you grow into this remarkable person and musician that you are today has been my greatest joy. I want to thank my mom, my brothers, and my sister, Kathleen, who's here today, who's in the audience, for starting me on this musical journey about 50 years ago. A whole new world opened up to me the day my brother brought home a tuba and my sister a French horn. I'd also like to thank and acknowledge my amazing colleagues, Mr. Megalio, Mr. Hilkema, Mrs. Petruccian, the past colleagues, Hillary Colton, Peter Stevenson, and of course, my MRD sidekicks from way back, Mr. Furta and Mr. Klein. Each of you have contributed to the vibrant music community that we built together. Your dedication, creativity, and support have enriched the lives of so many students for so many years. Thank you for the years of collaboration, friendship, and inspiration. To the school administrators over the years and currently, led by Jessica Cangelosi, Haid, our superintendent, our fabulous principal, Mr. Brandt, and our new music supervisor, Christine Moss. Thank you for believing in the arts and supporting our vision. I'm grateful for your trust and support throughout the years. To the parents, thank you for all your support and hours spent volunteering, organizing events, attending concerts, and most of all, encouraging your students to study music and the art of musicianship. And finally, to the students, present and past, you have been the heart and soul of my career. Okay, this is a tough one. All right, got this. I've watched you learn and grow to become wonderful musicians and people. You've inspired me every day with your energy, your passion, and your talents. Know that the music and memories we've created together will stay with me forever. I'm at ease as I leave today, knowing that the concert and jazz band students are in great hands under the direction of the talented and awesome Mr. Hilkema. And of course, the orchestra students and marching band students under the continued care and direction of the incredible talents of Mr. Megalio. As I step into retirement, I carry with me pages of a musical score full of memories, friendships, and experiences that I will cherish for the rest of my life. Thank you for being part of this wonderful journey. I look forward to watching as the next generation of musicians continue to impress and perform outstanding concerts at Central. Thank you all. I sincerely appreciate that. And I'd like to turn the stage back over to this amazing group of students, Mr. Megalio, and this wonderful production. I think you'll really enjoy this.
Making its 18th annual appearance is Mr. Megalio's arrangement of Illuminations, the music that for over 20 years accompanied the fireworks at Epcot each evening. The piece is actually divided into 3 movements: Chaos, representing the creation of the planet Earth from a cosmic event; Order, as the Earth cools, it changes from hot white to red to blue. Chaos turns to order. And Meaning, where the theme "We Go On" is heard in different styles, followed by an upbeat conclusion in mixed meter. The piece also includes a short coda placed at the end. This tag ending, entitled "We Go On," will feature the Hunterdon Central Chorale, madrigals, and noteworthy, all under the direction of Mrs. Petruccian. and will include both orchestras performing this evening. We hope you enjoyed this evening's concert, and now we present Illuminations Reflections of Earth.
So, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for allowing us to have this opportunity not only to perform for you, thank you to the choirs. Oh my God, I can't tell you. You are awesome. Thank you so much for giving of your time. And in celebration of Mr. Kenny's final concert, as we approach his retirement, not there yet, still got a few things to do, but there are cupcakes out there. So please get a cupcake, okay? Thank you guys so much, all right? And we'll see you all in our next events, but thank you and have a wonderful summer.
Hello, my name is Mason Quintard. I have been a trumpet player here at Central all 4 years, and I've been lucky to be a part of the jazz program for all 4 years in both band and in combo. And when I was thinking about what I wanted to say tonight, I was like struggling. There's just so much to talk about with Mr. Kenny. He's been a dedicated person to this community and to this program for years and years before I was even here. And I just want to say thank you, first of all. And I really want to focus on the opportunities that he's given us as a band director. It's really been amazing being a jazz musician. It's all about confidence. It's all about putting yourself out there. And he's really created a community in which it feels like you can. Like, there's no worries, there's no judgment. It just feels like you can. And it's helped everyone here I know grow as a musician and as a person outside of their music as well. We also do things like State Teen Arts that he's helped us be a part of. And that just, like, again, helps grow your confidence as a musician and as a person. And I just want to say thank you for all the opportunities that you've given us as our band director. And just thank you so much for everything you do for this program.
Hi, my name is Nick Brella. Actually, my mom's here. Nicholas Barella, sorry. So coming from playing with Mr. Helkma for 4 years in middle school, I thought the switch to playing band in high school would have been a bit more challenging, but Mr. Kenny was more than welcome to help us all out with the transition. Honestly made band more exciting, he's just so passionate about it. He just made it so much more exciting, and the music we played was just all so incredible throughout the years. And specifically for jazz band, gave me many opportunities to play a lot of different charts, varying levels of charts, and even multiple instruments throughout different levels of bands. And I cannot be more thankful for all that you've done for not just me and Mason, but I think I could say on behalf of everyone here, we're all so thankful for everything you've done for us over the past years. And just, I don't think anyone else could have done it any better than you could. So thank you very much for everything you've done for us.
Thank you.